What's going on, everyone? So, the Lakers' lack of a center really came to bite them and bit them hard, right? So much so, Rudy Gobert, who is probably one of the worst offensive big men we've seen, arguably ever, had a Shaq-like night and dropped 27 points with 24 rebounds, had some block shots, and domination is an understatement. That was just good old-fashioned behind the barn whooping. And that was not how I expected. I don't think it's how anyone expected it to go. Look, I had my concerns about Minnesota. I made that very clear. I got a lot of pushback because I didn't want to play Minnesota. I wanted to play the Warriors, and a lot of people were like, no, you can't play the Warriors. Minnesota will beat. I talked very heavily about like, hey, I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota beats us. But I did think the Lakers were going to win the series. I thought the Lakers obviously had a ton of holes, ton of issues, ton of concerns. But I thought that the Lakers' holes were that they would be able to mask enough and that the Lakers' advantages would be too great for Minnesota to overcome. Like, I thought the Lakers' ailments were easier to overcome than Minnesota's. Clearly, I was wrong. Clearly, Minnesota just ran through the Lakers. And the biggest, standout, I think it was multiple things, but the biggest standout was the lack of interior size, particularly at the center position. And you're seeing Mark Williams, right, which was the failed trade that the Lakers backed out of, right? You're seeing Mark Williams troll the Lakers and call them out, which if anyone has that right, it's Mark Williams. If anyone, has the right to talk their talk, it's Mark Williams. And there is a lot of questions. There is a lot of thoughts about like, okay, well, if we would have done the Mark Williams trade, is this a different series? Do the Lakers beat Minnesota with Mark Williams? And the answer is probably yes, right? Like, obviously you never really know. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But you would imagine if Mark Williams can be the guy that we know that he's capable of being in this series in which you had no center. I mean, he couldn't have been worse than Jackson Hayes, Alex Lynn, right? Like, so you put yourself in a position to where, this is an issue. And look, Lakers have needed a center for years, right? A lot of people, want to criticize Rob Pelinka. And usually, and look, I've defended Rob Pelinka a lot, right? And most of the stuff that people want to criticize Rob about are things that like weren't him, weren't in his control, or just are flat out wrong. But something that I always talk about is there are plenty of things to criticize Rob Pelinka for. And one of those things is the lack of a center, right? I mean, this is an issue that we've had for years now. This isn't something that just like snuck up on us, right? Now, I don't necessarily blame him for the Mark Williams trade failing through, right? Like, they trade for Luka. What do they do if they never trade for Luka? Do they go and get a center right? Like, something I even talked about this in a video, right? Like, there is, like, I thought Luka and LeBron gave us the best chance to win I like this version of the Lakers more than the Anthony Davis and LeBron issues, because there's just a lot of questions with Anthony Davis, right? His health, his inconsistencies in the playoffs, right? Can he be the guy to kind of carry the workload throughout the playoffs, right? But one of the things that I talked about was like, we don't know what this team would have looked like had we kept Anthony Davis. Right? Had the Lakers not got Luka, would they have maybe traded for, a center? Like, maybe they go and they trade for Nick Claxton and a Cam Johnson, right? And now you got that 3-and-D wing with, your legit center and Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And, maybe this is just a different team and a different outcome and a different result. Very real possibility, right? But we don't know, hindsight is always going to be 2020, always, right? But even with the Mark Williams situation, there's a lot of things that we don't know, right? Like, yeah, Mark Williams was healthy at post-trade for Charlotte, but the Lakers' issues weren't the knee or back issues. There was like kind of the longevity in him deteriorating. Right now, if the Lakers would have traded for him and won a championship this season, who cares, right? Like, even if he falls apart, you won a championship. It was worth it, right? But there is also a version where Mark Williams ends up getting hurt, right? Because, again, very different playing against on a Hornets team where you don't have to try as hard and you don't really have to play great defense and you're trying to tank for the bottom than a team like the Lakers that is trying to win, trying to get a top seed, trying to win an NBA championship. Very different. Also, we would have went up against the most physical team in probably all of the NBA, right? Would Mark Williams have been able to hold out and hold up throughout the playoffs? I don't know, maybe, right? But this is an issue that needed to be addressed. The Lakers have needed a center for years now, and it never got addressed. And the lack of center now came back to bite us. The lack of center now came to, rear its ugly head and go, hey, you should have got a guy. Which is why I wanted to bring in a guy like a Trey Jamison or something like that. Now, look, I don't think Trey Jamison would have been necessarily the savior or anything like that, but I think he would have been more playable than Alex Lynn. I think he would have been more playable than Jackson Hayes even, given that he is more physical and has the size and the strength. Max Kleba, unfortunately, came back a little too late, which sucks. It was unfortunate. But that's the reality. Nonetheless, look, the Lakers you're in the offseason now. You have a clear hole, a clear need that maybe finally you'll address. And really, you need two. Really, in my opinion, you need two centers. One, you're probably trading for. The other guy, you're probably signing via free agency. But nonetheless, I think you need at least two centers. But it's something that the Lakers are going to have to finally fix, finally address, finally figure out. Because, that is, again, like the Mark Williams situation, I don't blame the Lakers for. Because, again, you don't know. I trust the Lakers health department. They said that they didn't trust it. You let it go. I know the frustration. I get it. But if Mark Williams ends up getting hurt, then all of us go, see, that's why you don't trade for him. And it's catch-22, right? And then as far as not getting a center after, again, like you were, I don't believe the Lakers thought that they were going to fail Mark Williams on a physical. Right? Because they knew the concerns, they knew everything. I don't think that they thought he was going to fail the physical. Right? So, and he does, and I just think it just put a wrench in everything. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Agree with me? Disagree with me? Kind of mixed in the middle? Do you think yes, it's unfortunate, the lack of center really came to bite us in the behind? Do you think no? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.